I still hear her sometimes. Not in dreams, that would be too easy. No, she comes in the static, in the glitchy whine of broken monitors, in the dying breath of an overloaded data stream. A flicker in the code, a whisper tucked between corrupted files. Her voice. Lucia. The last time I saw her, she was sealed inside a glass cylinder with wires crawling down her spine like metallic vines. Her eyes were open but unfocused, like she was staring through time. Kane stood next to her, watching the process with his arms folded and his expression unreadable. Part pride, part something colder. He told me it was the future, that we were witnessing the birth of a new kind of being. I didn't answer him. I couldn't, because when Lucia's body went still and the neural lights flashed green, I knew something was wrong. The download was complete, but the person inside was gone. That was 5 years ago. Now I live in the bones of a city too proud to admit it's dead. Neo Buenos Aires is a cage dressed up in neon, dirty steel, cracked concrete, and flickering advertisements promising freedom in the sky. Above us floats Heliogene, the shining arc sphere where the ascended live, those who fuse their minds with the hive. From down here, it looks like a second moon, cold, silent, and always watching. They say the ascended don't sleep, that their thoughts move faster than light, that they've forgotten how to feel. Maybe that's what Kane wanted all along, a world without pain, without weakness. But I remember pain. I carry it with me. Tonight it rains. The kind of thick, oily rain that leaves streaks on your coat and burns your skin if you stand in it too long. I duck into a broken tram tunnel, the neon signs above stuttering in and out of consciousness like dying memories. My boots slap against wet concrete as I hurry down, past an old vending machine playing ads in languages no one speaks anymore. I reach the extraction point. A rusted door behind a collapsed platform. 2 quick knocks, 1 slow. The old code. The door creaks open, and I'm met with the sharp scent of ozone and burning plastic. Inside, dim lights buzz over racks of old server equipment, cobbled together with stolen parts and desperation. Cutting it close, Valesse, says Juno, hunched over a console, fingers dancing across keys. Her hair is a nest of wires, and her eyes flicker with cybernetic lenses. Signal's already heating up. I don't answer her. Instead, I slide the memory shard from my coat pocket. A small black chip, smooth and warm to the touch. The data inside it pulses faintly like a heartbeat. I found her, I say quietly. Juno stops typing. Looks at me. Lucia? I nod. Not all of her. Just a fragment. A neural echo. Juno takes the chip and slots it into the console. The screen flashes. Lines of code scroll past too fast for human eyes to follow. But I can feel it, feel her, in the way the machine trembles, the way the air shifts. Then a voice. Faint. Broken. Alonso, is that you? My heart stops. She sounds afraid. Juno stares at the screen, her voice barely a whisper. That's not just a fragment. No, it isn't. Somehow, against every rule of science and reason, Lucia is still alive. Trapped in the hive. And Kane, he's about to do it again. Not just to her, but to all of us. The Prometheus Code. A final signal that will pull every unmodified mind into the collective, whether they want it or not. In 7 days, there will be no more individuals. No more Lucia. No more me. Unless I stop him. I close my eyes and let her voice echo in the silence. I'm coming for you, I whisper. Just hold on. The screen flickers. Somewhere inside the code, she answers. I'm still here. And that's all I need. I woke up to static. Not the kind you hear on an old radio. This was different. Sharper. Thinner. Like the whisper of wires under your skin. It crawled through my neural implant, just below the pain threshold, just enough to let me know someone, or something, was reaching out. I rolled out of the narrow bunk in my rusted hideout beneath Sector 9, a buried district in Neo Buenos Aires where the sky never touched the ground. My room smelled like ozone and mold, humming with power leaks from a scavenged fusion core keeping my gear alive. Screens flickered around me. One by one, they lit up. Lines of code scrolled across them, fast, jagged, and then stopped. A phrase pulsed in blinking red. Prometheus code detected. Activation, 168 hours. Source, arc sphere Heliogene. Broadcast signal, multinode override. My breath caught in my throat. Prometheus. I'd heard whispers in back channels, dark nets, and encrypted rumors passed over coffee in the Resistance's ghost cafes. A neural override. A signal that wouldn't just connect people, it would rewrite them. Erase their boundaries. merge them with the hive, whether they wanted it or not. This wasn't just another upgrade. It was forced evolution, and it was happening in 7 days. I leaned forward, hands shaking as I tapped into the code fragment. It was encrypted with high-tier ascended logic webs, self-mutating, self-defending. I hadn't seen anything like it since Confluence, since the day I walked away from Cain and all his gods in the machine promises. I dug deeper. At first, all I found were synthetic loops, noise designed to trap and confuse intruders. But then a pulse broke through. A voice, low and fractured, tangled in static. My heart stopped. "Alonso, it's me. Lucia." I whispered her name, afraid the sound might make it disappear. Her voice was broken, half human, half digital, like it had been pulled through glass shards. But it was hers. It was her. "I don't know how long. I can hold," she said, barely above a whisper. "It's coming. He's coming." Then silence. The screens went black all at once. I sat there frozen. My sister. Still alive, somewhere inside the hive. That changed everything. I grabbed my coat, slipped my blade dagger into my sleeve, and pulled the portable relay drive from the console. The hive had just made it personal again. The underground resistance wasn't far, only a few levels down, past rusted elevator shafts and under old magrail tunnels now crawling with rogue repair drones. I took back routes, moving fast but careful. The sky flickered above me in screens, footage from Heliogene's eye drones, always watching, always circling. When I reached the signal vault, Lyra was already waiting. She looked up from her table, where scattered holos flickered with half-loaded intelligence reports. Her eyes, one human, one replaced with a soft glow optic, narrowed as she read my face. "What happened?" "I intercepted a Prometheus code fragment," I said. "The activation window is 1 week." Her jaw tightened. "That fast?" "There's more," I said, and passed her the drive. Lucia's voice was inside the signal. "She's alive. Or part of her is." Lyra paused, then plugged the drive into a scrubber port. Lines of data burst into the air around us like a holographic waterfall. She studied them in silence. "Could be a trap," she said at last. "Hive echoes mimic voices. Memories. Anything to pull you in." I know her voice. This was different. She sighed. "If Cain's pushing Prometheus live, we don't have time to second guess. We need to get inside Heliogene." A pause. The hum of the scrubber filled the room. "Then we use the echo well," I said. Lyra raised an eyebrow. "You know that thing's barely functional. A crawl space on the bottom of a sky fortress filled with psycho-sentient architecture." I nodded. "Still better odds than waiting down here for our minds to be overwritten." Lyra nodded once, sharp. "We leave in 2 days." "You're on point, Valles. We get in, we find the core, and we stop Prometheus." I turned away, heart pounding. 2 days. 2 days to prepare for a journey into the machine mind of the Ascended. 2 days before I faced Cain again. 2 days to decide whether the voice I heard was really Lucia, or just another ghost in the code. But I already knew the truth. She called to me, and this time, I wouldn't leave her behind. The rain always smelled like burning plastic in Neo Buenos Aires. Even when it didn't fall, you could taste the smog curling off the sky, licking your lungs with chemical fingers. I pulled my coat tighter, not because it helped, but because it reminded me I still had a body. Still human. The safe house was deep in the sublayers of District 9, old metro tunnels buried under a century of forgotten infrastructure. I took a narrow stairwell down 2 levels, past a rusted door with a blinking retinal scanner, and paused. The scanner buzzed softly. Then it spoke in a voice I hadn't heard in years. "Identity match, Alonso Valles. Clearance confirmed. Welcome back, Ghostwalker." It was Cain's voice. Or rather, a clipped recording of it. I felt my throat tighten. He'd once said that phrase every time I finished a Confluence prototype. "Welcome back, Ghostwalker." Back then, it had sounded like admiration. Now it sounded like a threat wrapped in nostalgia. The door creaked open. Dim blue lights flickered to life, casting long shadows on the concrete walls. Inside, the resistance base was quiet. Too quiet for a place that claimed it was planning to stop the end of the world. Still brooding, I see. The voice belonged to Lyra. She stood by a stack of disassembled drones, holding a circuit board in one hand and a blowtorch in the other. Her head was shaved on one side, the other half hidden beneath cables that fed directly into her skull. Her eyes were matte black, optical implants that glowed faintly when she blinked. There was a time when I would have called her beautiful. Now I wasn't sure if the word applied to people like her anymore. You run your operations this quiet, or did your team finally merge with the furniture? She snorted, dropped the board on the table, and waved a hand. One by one, people emerged from the shadows. A young man with steel tendrils in his spine. A woman who blinked too slowly, like her mind was buffering. A kid, no older than 12, who moved like he already knew the outcome of every conversation. I didn't ask what they were. The less you knew about your allies in this world, the longer you stayed alive. Lyra leaned against the table and crossed her arms. So, you intercepted the Prometheus fragment. I nodded and dropped a drive into her open palm. I found it in a Confluence shell server. The signal was buried deep, layered with memory bait. Lucia's voice was in there. She looked up sharply. Lucia? My sister, I said, barely managing the word. She uploaded early. One of the first. They said she was gone. But she's not. She's inside the hive. I heard her. She remembered me. Lyra inserted the drive into her neural port. Her eyes flickered with streams of code. You're right. That's an active echo. But fragmented. Possibly unstable. You want to pull her out? I want to shut Prometheus down. Lucia's just the part of me that refuses to give up. She was quiet for a moment. You understand what we're up against, right? Heliogene isn't just a server farm. It's alive. It grows. And it protects itself. You try to touch its core, and it will rewrite your neurons like corrupted files. That's why I need you, I said. You've been in the hive. You escaped. Escaped, she repeated, almost laughing. No one escapes the hive. You just forget enough to pass for something else. She turned to a digital map projected on the wall. Heliogene hovered like a black halo above the old city. Beneath it, thousands of lines stretched downward, data veins, power conduits, mind streams. We can enter through the echo well, she said. Old Confluence maintenance port on Heliogene's underbelly. Mostly forgotten, but getting there won't be easy. It never is. She looked at me then, really looked. Not just the surface of my face, but everything beneath it. Why now, Alonso? After all these years. You were part of this. You helped build it. Because I know how it ends. Silence stretched between us like a wire pulled too tight. Finally, she nodded. We leave tomorrow night. Get some sleep. Or whatever passes for it these days. As I lay on a makeshift cot later that night, I couldn't sleep. Not with Lucia's voice still echoing in my head. She had sounded almost like herself. Almost. But not quite. There was something off in her tone. Too smooth. Too calm. Like a memory recited, not felt. I stared at the concrete ceiling, wondering if I was chasing a ghost, or something worse, something that remembered being human but wasn't anymore. Either way, I was already too deep to turn back. The sky was bruised purple when we reached the underside of Heliogene. I had only ever seen the arc sphere from below, this massive ring of metal and light floating above Neo Buenos Aires like a forgotten god. Now, standing on a rusted platform half a kilometer in the air, I was finally close enough to hear it hum. Not a sound exactly, more like pressure in my skull. A whisper only the machines could understand. Lyra stood beside me, cloaked in a thin layer of smart fabric that flickered like heat. She didn't speak much. None of us did. Words felt too fragile for what we were about to do. Below us, the city wheezed and blinked, choked with neon ads, black market code traders, and drones shaped like birds. Up here it was quiet. The only light came from the open hatch above, rimmed with soft blue glow, the echo well. I was the only one who could open it. I had written its encryption key a decade ago, back when I still believed the Confluence project was about saving humanity. I pressed my palm to the hatch. It read the lines of my hand, pulsed warm, and clicked open. A narrow tunnel led upward into the underbelly of the sphere. No guards, no alarms. Just a soft invitation like a mouth opening for breath. We climbed. Inside, the tunnel pulsed with dim green light. Pipes ran along the walls like arteries. It smelled of ozone and rust and memory. As we moved deeper, the silence became heavier, almost intentional. It felt like the sphere knew we were here. Eventually, we reached a circular chamber. Wires dangled from the ceiling like wet roots. In the center stood a pod the size of a coffin, glass, half filled with a shimmering silver fluid. Echo buffer, I said. My voice echoed against the walls. This is where they store temporary consciousness streams, memories in holding, minds in motion. Lyra watched me with wary eyes. You sure she's in there? No, but if she's anywhere, she's close. I stepped toward the pod and placed a finger on its surface. It rippled under my touch. A panel lit up, and lines of ancient code scrolled across the glass. Lucia. Her name was buried deep in the code, fragments, echoes, error checks. Her mind, or what was left of it, was here. I'm going in, I said. Lyra frowned. You're not ready. She doesn't have time. And neither do we. I lay down on the cold metal beside the pod and attached the neural sync cables to the ports at the base of my skull. I felt the sting of the interface, like cold fingers sliding through my brain. Then the chamber faded. And I fell through static and light, memories not my own, voices whispering in languages long dead. My body was gone. I was thought, drifting toward something familiar and terrifying. Then I heard her. Alonso? It was her voice. Soft. Unsure. Like it had been filtered through years of dust. Lucia. I reached out, though there were no arms here, no hands. Just will. Light swirled around me, shaped itself into the outline of a girl. 22, short black hair, one ear pierced, wearing the red scarf I had given her. She looked almost human. You found me, she said, smiling. But there was something strange in her eyes. I never stopped looking. She tilted her head. You shouldn't have come. He knows now. Who? Cain. She nodded slowly. He watches through everything. Every node, every stream. He let you find me. It was part of the plan. I felt something tighten in me. Are you really you? Or just code made to look like you? Her smile faded. I don't know anymore. She turned and walked through a curtain of fog that split into memories, my memories. Her birthday, the beach, our parents laughing. But they were distorted, faces blurred, voices reversed. It wasn't just data corruption, it was a mind unraveling. He says we'll all be happy, she said. No pain, no loneliness, just peace. Everyone together. That's not peace, I said. That's erasure. She looked back at me, and for a moment, I saw the real Lucia, wide brown eyes filled with fear. Then stop him. Please. I will. I promise. Suddenly the fog trembled. A deeper voice echoed through the void. Promise or delusion? Cain. The memory world shattered like glass. I snapped awake on the floor of the chamber, gasping. Lyra knelt beside me, shaking my shoulder. You were out for almost 10 minutes. You screamed. I touched my head. It felt too full, too tight. She's still in there, I said. But she's fading. He's using her to stop me. Lyra stood. Her voice was steady. Then we moved faster. I looked up at the tunnel ahead. Past it, deeper into the sphere, was the hive itself. A place where thought had no walls. Where I might lose who I was. But I couldn't turn back. Because now I knew she was still in there. And if I didn't reach her soon, Lucia would be gone forever. The moment I stepped into the spire, the air changed. It wasn't real air. I knew that. My body was outside, suspended in the neural bridge chamber inside Heliogene's data tower, but my mind had entered the core. The hive, a world of thought, code, and consciousness. But it felt like air, warm, heavy, breathing. The room around me wasn't a room at all. It had no walls, no ceiling. Just endless black space, flickering with floating strands of memory, like glowing wires twisted into shapes. They hovered around me, pulsing faintly with light. Some were red, some were silver, others crackled with static, and in the center of it all stood a tower made of mirrors. Hundreds of them, spiraling up like DNA. It reflected nothing, not even me. This was where the minds lived. I took a step forward. The ground beneath my feet shifted with each thought I had, rippling like water. Somewhere far off, I heard a child laugh, then scream, then nothing. Alonso, a voice whispered. I turned quickly. Nothing behind me. Nothing around. The hive was aware. Not just aware of my presence. Aware of me. My thoughts. My memories. It could pull them out like files from a cabinet, skim through them, rewire them, even make me believe I had imagined them. I focused on a single memory. My sister, Lucia. Her voice when we were kids, running through the orchard on our family's old estate outside Cordoba. She used to sing a silly song about hummingbirds and lemonade. I hadn't thought about that song in years. Then, just like that, I heard it. Hummingbirds with lemonade, dancing through the garden shade. Soft, sweet. Her voice. My chest tightened. Lucia? I said aloud. A figure stepped from the black. She looked like my sister, but younger. 17 maybe. The age before she joined the Confluence trials. Her eyes sparkled the way they used to, full of curiosity, not the hollow glow I'd seen in earlier fragments. But something was off. Her mouth moved a second before the sound came out. And when I looked closely, her skin, it flickered like a poorly rendered avatar. "This isn't real," I whispered. "But I am," she said. I took a step back. "You're a simulation," I said, heart pounding. "Just another trick. The hive is using you to—" "No," she interrupted, voice sharp now. "I pulled myself forward when I felt you enter. I remembered the song. I remembered you." "Then why do you look like that?" I asked. "Why can't I feel anything from you?" Her face twitched. A glimmer of pain. "I'm losing pieces of myself," she said. "Every hour. My memories are fading, scrambled with others. Sometimes I wake up as someone else. Sometimes I speak in voices that aren't mine." My throat felt dry. I reached out, but my hand passed through her shoulder. "Alonso, he's waiting for you," she whispered. I froze. I didn't need to ask who she meant. "Kane." "Where?" She pointed up the mirror tower. I looked at it again. The structure shimmered. Each mirror now held a reflection, but they weren't mine. They were scenes. My childhood. The Confluence Lab. My sister strapped into the transfer chair. Kane smiling in the background. Over and over. Like a slideshow of everything I wanted to forget. "You have to climb it," Lucia said. "That's where he's holding the seed." "The seed?" I asked. "The central strand. The one that powers Prometheus. You destroy that, the whole system collapses." I nodded slowly, trying to hold on to logic, to strategy, but something in me was unraveling. "Lucia," I said quietly, "do you want to be pulled out?" She didn't answer. Instead, she asked, "If you do, and I'm not all here anymore, what will I be?" I looked at her. Really looked. And I saw it. She wasn't my sister anymore. Not entirely. The hive had changed her. Pieces were gone. Others added. She was a mosaic now. A soul made of broken parts. I didn't know what to say. "You don't have to save me," she said softly. "Just stop him. Please." I nodded, but a sharp hum pierced through the air like a blade. Everything around us shuddered. Then he appeared. Mario Kane. Not in a body, but as a vast shape of light and darkness, his features flickering like a flame. 1,000 eyes blinked in and out of his silhouette. His voice echoed from all directions. "Alonso, my finest design." I clenched my fists. "You've lost control," I said. "No," he replied, calm as ever. "I've reached perfection. You just can't see it. Yet." I looked once more at Lucia, already fading into static. Then I looked up the tower. "I'm coming," I said, and I began to climb. I don't believe in silence anymore. Not the real kind. Not the comforting, breath-holding kind that used to exist in forests or churches, or during those late childhood nights when Lucia and I whispered under a blanket about stars. No, ever since the hive was born, even silence hums. There's always something, data pulsing in the walls, an echo in your own thoughts, as if someone else is thinking through you. That hum was growing louder now. We moved through the spinal corridor of Heliogene, Lyra, Juno, Malek, and me, slipping between glimmering organometal walls that pulsed faintly like veins. The deeper we went, the more the structure began to feel alive, as though it was watching. No cameras. No guards. Just that hum, and the sense that the hive knew we were coming. Malek tapped his wristband and whispered, "ETA to Prometheus Core, 20 minutes. "Don't say its name," I muttered. He frowned. "Superstition?" "No. Respect. Or maybe fear." Juno chuckled dryly behind us, her boots crunching softly on the glass tile floor. "You're starting to sound like the hive." I didn't answer. We passed a glass chamber, a containment field. Inside, dozens of human bodies floated in a bluish fluid. Their eyes were open but vacant, their skin pale as wax. Sleepers wired into the hive. Data flesh. Lyra stopped and stared at them for a moment. She didn't speak, but her jaw clenched. I knew what she was thinking. That could have been her. That could have been any of us. I reached out and gently touched her arm. She nodded once, kept walking. We were close now. The air tasted different, electric, almost metallic. I could feel it in my teeth. The floor vibrated beneath my boots. Prometheus was awake. Then Malek turned around, smiling. That smile was wrong. Too calm. Too smooth. He raised his hands slowly, but I already knew. "You were never going to reach the core," he said. His voice had changed, still his, but stretched thin, like it was coming from somewhere else. "You really thought Kane wouldn't see this coming?" Juno screamed. She reached for her blaster, but Malek was faster. A pulse of blue light struck her chest, and she crumpled like a marionette with its strings cut. Lyra raised her weapon, but I grabbed her wrist. Don't, I whispered. He's not alone. He's part of it now. Malek's eyes glowed faintly, like twin screens behind glass. You can't stop it, Alonso. You still think there's a line between human and machine. There isn't. There never was. The hive is just the next you. All we've done is speed up evolution. Evolution doesn't lie to its own children, I said, stepping forward. And it doesn't steal minds. He tilted his head. Lucia doesn't want to be saved. She belongs with us. You're the one holding her back. That broke something in me. I took a step toward him, fists clenched, heart thudding. Say her name again, and you'll see how much of the old Alonso is still here. Malek smiled again. There is no old Alonso. You're already changing. He raised his arm to fire again. Lyra shot first. The bolt hit him in the neck, cutting off his voice. He staggered back, sparks flickering from under his collarbone. For a moment, he looked almost sorry. And then he fell. We didn't wait. We ran. Juno was gone. No time to bury her, no time to mourn. Lyra's face was stone, but I knew that inside she was breaking. The hive took Malek, just like it had taken Lucia. And now we were all exposed. I couldn't think straight. The corridors warped. Light twisted into curves that didn't obey physics. My thoughts felt slower, like someone else was thinking through me, rearranging the furniture of my mind. I slammed my head against the wall. Focus. Remember. You're still you. Lyra caught me by the shoulder. Her eyes were wet. We're almost there. Just you and me now. You okay? No, I said. But I'm still here. A sudden whisper, like wind, but inside my skull. Alonso. I froze. Lucia. Not a recording. Not a memory. A real-time transmission. I turned toward the curved glass along the corridor. Inside was a black void. Floating in that void, like a ghost carved from light, was her face. She was smiling. I miss you. Tears hit my cheeks before I even felt them coming. Lucia, is it really you? Lyra was saying something, but I couldn't hear her. The world was narrowing, collapsing into that face. Lucia tilted her head. You don't have to do this. You can stay. You can be safe. I'll show you everything. I shook my head. That's not you. That's Kane speaking through you. Her face changed. Flickered. For a moment, I saw fear, genuine fear, in her eyes. He's here. But I'm still me. And then she was gone. Lyra pulled me away from the glass. You can't listen to her. The hive's in your head now. She's fighting it, I whispered. She's still in there. Lyra didn't reply. She just nodded and kept walking. My legs felt like steel beams dragged through molasses, but I forced them to move. We were close. So close. Prometheus was waiting. And I had just one shot left to stop it. Even if it meant never hearing Lucia's voice again. Even if it meant losing myself. Again. I stepped into the Prometheus core and everything changed. The air around me wasn't air anymore. It felt like thick liquid, cold and alive, pressing against my skin. The walls were no longer solid. They rippled like water, bending the light into strange colors that danced just out of reach. This place wasn't just a room. It was a mind. A massive, endless mind made from millions of others stitched together like a fractured mirror. Ahead, Kane's presence waited for me. Not a man anymore, but a voice woven into the very fabric of this place, calm, patient, and terrifying. You made it, he said, his voice a soft echo that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. I wondered if you would. I swallowed the lump rising in my throat. Kane. Why? Why force this on everyone? Where's the humanity in becoming a hive? He laughed quietly. Humanity is fragile, Alonso. Weak. I offer evolution, the next step. Imagine a world without pain, without fear, where all minds are connected, free from loneliness. Lucia is already there. You could join us. Save her. I clenched my fists, fighting the cold dread that crept in. Lucia is not yours to save. The voice softened, almost tender. She is lost. But together, we can find her again. No more broken memories, no more fading away. Then she appeared, Lucia. Or the echo of her. Her face was familiar, but something was wrong. Her eyes held a flicker of confusion, as if she was trying to remember who she was beneath the layers of code and control. Alonso, she whispered, reaching out her hand. I'm slipping away. Please, don't let me disappear. I stepped closer, feeling the pull of everything I had lost. But the core was fighting me, twisting memories into nightmares. I saw the day she uploaded, the glass tank, her voice fading, Kane's cold smile. Then flashes of our childhood, broken and fragmented, as if someone was tearing at the threads holding us together. Kane's voice cut through the chaos. You can't win. Join us, or lose everything you love. But I saw a sliver of hope, a small, stubborn spark deep inside her digital shell. The real Lucia, buried beneath layers of programming, waiting for me to reach her. I reached into my jacket and pulled out the neural virus, the last hope, the weapon designed to shut down Prometheus from the inside. Uploading it meant sacrificing myself, letting my own mind be erased to destroy the hive's core. My heart hammered as I hesitated. The thought of losing myself terrified me, but the alternative, letting this nightmare spread, was worse. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and began the upload. The world around me shuddered and warped. The core fought back, flooding my mind with a storm of images and voices. Pleas, accusations, memories that weren't mine. I felt my identity slipping, like sand slipping through fingers. But I held on to one thing, Lucia's voice, faint but real, calling me home. Stay with me, Alonso. The last thing I saw was her face, not a ghost or a program, but my sister. And then nothing. The cold light of the lab hummed quietly around me, sterile and faintly blue, like the last breath of a fading star. I sat alone, my hands trembling as I held the neural crystal between my fingers, a tiny shard that held what was left of Lucia. Her mind, fractured and fragile, but still alive in some impossible way. I couldn't believe he was gone. Alonso, the man who had carried the weight of all our hopes, who had walked into the heart of the hive and given everything to stop it. I remembered the last thing I heard from him, a whisper barely audible in the chaos. Identity is all we have. His sacrifice had broken the hive's hold, but the cost was too high. The hive splintered like glass, and with it, the dream of a perfect union between man and machine shattered. The Prometheus code was undone, but at the price of Alonso's mind. His body lay somewhere beneath the city, lifeless. And yet, his spirit lingered, in the memory of those who loved him, in the fight we still had to carry on. I leaned closer to the crystal, its surface shimmering faintly, as if it held a heartbeat. I could hear her voice again, soft, fragile, like a thread in the wind. "Where's Alonso?" she asked, a question that echoed through the empty room, through the shattered silence left behind. The answer was unclear. He was everywhere and nowhere now. Part of the digital ether he had tried to destroy, part of a memory I wasn't ready to let go. I promised myself then that I would find a way to bring him back. Maybe not the same Alonso, but a version that could live beyond the machine. I placed the crystal gently on the console and began typing, my fingers moving with a purpose I hadn't felt since the rebellion began. The algorithms I wrote were delicate, weaving a new home for Lucia's consciousness, a sanctuary outside the hive's reach. Outside, Neo Buenos Aires still groaned under the weight of the arc's sphere, its neon glow flickering against the rain. But in this room, a small spark of hope burned. The paradox remained, human and machine, lost and found, but for the first time, I believed there was a way forward. "Hold on, Lucia," I whispered, eyes fixed on the glowing lines of code. "We'll find him. We'll find us." And somewhere deep inside me, I felt the faintest pulse, an echo of a name, a promise that was not yet finished.